We didn't want to do what happened with us.
I wrecked my life and burnt it to the ground.
Didn't even know who Jesus was.
Some drugs and some drinking. There was nothing left of my life.
Really bad car accident, just in agony.
I don't have anybody here crying in front of people I don't even know.
I don't even know what's going on.
I have to have this conversation now.
This is all in your head, antidepressant. Thoughts go through your mind of how you might want to wreck yourself, and that was what was going through my mind.
We're mission-based people. We want to go save the world and change healthcare and all the rest, but we don't want to be publicly successful and privately completely bankrupt. So first ministry is us, our marriage first. The 5 of us, our family is second. Organization. And then into our offices and the other things that we do. You can see that there. On Sunday, we have a family meeting, and we start with just the 2 of us, her calendar, my calendar, and we get on the same page. And then we bring kids in. Now, the kids know my calendar, and they know her calendar, and then guess what the kids get to do is? They get to bring in what they want, and hey, I was really wanting to go do this weekend and do that this weekend, instead of this last-minute thing. We actually made a safe place in family meetings. We want them to have a place where they can appeal, and they can also say, hey, I'm not getting enough of this. Creating an environment where we asked for it in a family meeting has made a huge difference.
Zachary David Erb, he's 21.
Zach is adventurous, he's strong, he was our cautious kid.
He is a nerd.
Really been my built-in best friend as long as I can remember.
Really kind to me.
Fact-based person, like he wants to know, like, how does this work? Why does it work that way?
My sisters, they're awesome. They're bundles of joy.
Zanae and Zach and I are all different.
Zoe is 18 years old. I describe her as a nice, smart, kind, funny person and is kind of competitive sometimes.
Zoe is the second one.
She'll be the one right there up on the stage, talking and interfacing with people.
Very outspoken, very social. She definitely inherited a lot from my dad.
She could go anywhere, and she could make a friend with a rock, and probably has.
One of the things that all of us say in the family is like, Zanae is the best version of all of us. She's our child of peace.
Child of peace.
It's our child of peace right at the get-go.
She is a bundle of joy all the time. One of the most competitive 10-year-olds I've ever met in my life.
She's a thinker, like I am, but she's also very social.
She's always made life so easy. She's always made life so fun. Like, she's kept me super young.
If she contends, I think we need to be a little more kind. Like, that's, and you're like, well, you can't say anything about that. Like, yeah, that's probably true.
Yep, 100%.
My dad is very kind. He will always snuggle. Always, always, always.
Driven, passionate. When he goes out on there, it's like lightning and thunder. He's so dynamic.
We are 2 peas in a pod. The humor and the goofiness about it, that's both of us. We're definitely the jokesters in the family, and not to brag, but
Definitely one of the biggest role models in my life.
my mom, she is one of the most hardworking people I've ever met in my life.
Calculated, a risk taker. I get a lot of my stuff from my mom.
She's very wise and very smart, and she loves Jesus very, very much.
I am so blessed to have had her as a mom.
When I have kids someday, she's definitely gonna be who I'm turning to, so.
We were very intentional, I would say. So church was a huge thing.
Most of the things that our kids have in their hearts are stuff that they caught, not that they were taught. And so we always try to make them a part of our lives, no matter what we were doing.
If you hear about kind of the stories of when all of them invited Jesus in their heart, it was like along the way. Like it was on the trampoline, it was in the bathroom.
We pray with them every single night. That we pray, anytime that we're together, we pray before every single meal.
We didn't want to do what happened with us. I actually didn't even know who Jesus was. My household, we didn't talk about Jesus. Nobody talked about Jesus. My dad was in construction. My mom worked in the factory, which is basically what most of my family did in Michigan, was they worked in the factory at General Motors. But whenever I would go sleep over at my grandparents' house, my grandpa, that's all he would ever say was Jesus, but I didn't really know what that meant. And so I did go to church with them sometimes. Sometimes people would raise their hands. I didn't really know what that was. I loved the singing, like that was fun, but I didn't really know who Jesus was. I really had no idea.
I was born and raised in Oklahoma, in a little small town. Went to a church my grandfather started. It's just something that we were made to do. And so when I got to 12, they said, when you turn 12, you can do what you want to do. And so guess what I chose to do? Didn't want to go to church anymore. So I didn't. Got into high school, junior high and high school years, just went off the rail. I didn't have Jesus, so I was just pushing the fences every which way. Got to college, I have photographic memory, so school was always easy. So I could not study ever, which was not a good combination for me in school, not having to have any responsibility. That's when I really got off track.
When I was in high school, my dad had a really bad car accident. He was in construction, so he drove one of those big 3/4-ton pickup trucks. And on the way to the hospital, I see the accident. His truck was flipped over, the cab was peeled off, and I wasn't sure if my dad was gonna be dead when I got there. Get to the hospital, he's alive. After we get my dad home, my dad says, I'm still in pain. They said, we don't see anything wrong. This is all in your head. We don't see anything wrong. You need to see the psychiatrist. So they send us to a psychiatrist. Doctor says, here's this drug, Prozac, antidepressant. We go home, my dad starts taking Prozac, and he was not the same person. I'm 16. It's the summer before my senior year. I'm daddy's little girl. 10 days later, he shoots himself in our home. Like, it wrecked me. The hospital never sent my dad to someone like me. Like, I'm a chiropractor now, but they never sent him to a chiropractor. I got his x-rays later. I looked at his x-rays. His spine was so out of alignment. He was just in agony. Thoughts go through your mind of feeling sorry for yourself and how you might want to wreck yourself, and that was what was going through my mind. I remember having a real conscious process of just deciding whether I was going to go down the wrong road because of this, or I was going to figure out what good can come from this.
I found myself one day where I just burned everything down. I really got into, some drugs and some drinking. I didn't think I was going to make it through school. I didn't want to. And I found myself at the bottom of a ravine. Couldn't go back here, I couldn't go there. I didn't know what I was going to do. And I sat there and I started crying, and there was nothing left of my life. God, you can have it now, because there's nothing left of it. And I literally heard, and I know it sounds weird, but I literally heard him say, I'll take you up on that. And that's the point where everything started to turn for me.
By the grace of God, and I didn't even know who he was at the time, I went down the road of like, what good can come from this? Right around that time, that's when I met the chiropractors. I hurt myself in gymnastics. My mom wasn't gonna pay for me to go to the chiropractor. And I remember driving by and kind of seeing this sign. So I would pay to get adjusted, loved the family. It was a husband and wife family, loved the family. And they eventually one day just said, hey, you wanna work here? They were really the first reflection that I had of Jesus. They really were that family that, helped me get through. Finally, I just decided I'm going to chiropractic school. Moved to Texas. Started hearing people in my classroom talking about Jesus.
So I went to church, and there was a baptism. All little kids, and me, this big, football player. And one by one they come. I didn't realize what was going on at first. And he said, if you're family with this kid or this little one here, go ahead and stand up. He said it every time. I went down there, and then I started thinking, I don't have anybody here. And he goes, so if you're family with this young man, go ahead and stand up. And then nobody stood up in the entire place with 200-300 people. And it was so obvious that nobody stood up that everybody started doing this. They started looking around like this, and they kept looking around. All of a sudden I'm crying in front of people I don't even know in church. And the pastor looks at me, and he sees exactly what's going on. And he goes, let me ask this again. If you're family with this young man, I want you to go ahead and stand up. And like it was on cue, every single person in that entire church stood up.
Remember from my apartment complex, I started seeing these signs. I didn't even know where the church was. I remember just getting up, didn't tell anybody. I just got up on a Sunday morning, and I got dressed, and I drove, and I just followed the signs. I sat through the message, and it was something that I really hadn't heard anything like that before. And so when I walked out of the message, I'm like, I prayed the prayer. I definitely need to talk to somebody because I don't even know what's going on here. I remember very clearly just feeling like, I had a hole in my heart and I didn't know, with words how to describe that. And that day I felt like that hole was just filled.
Got to professional school, got to chiropractic college. I did have some time where I really fell back into some hard ways and some bad patterns again. I was like, man, I got to do something different with my life again. Like, I've got to go back to Jesus. And right that moment is when I met Kimberly. Imagine a really busy hallway with hundreds of people trying to get to class on time.
I'm coming this way, he's coming that way.
And so I turned around to look.
And he knocks me over with his book bag.
Beautiful woman was in the hallway. She was like,
"Excuse you, like what?"
And I would have said it, I'm sorry. I was just like, yes, what?
And he did, he helped me up, but I was a little like annoyed and he was a little smitten and it was just a little like, what's going on here? So then we just parted ways. My roommate, she said, I have this guy that I want you to meet. Sure enough, that was the same guy that knocked me over with his book bag.
We started dating, and I remember thinking, I've never had an abstinent relationship. I don't even know how to do that, but I just know this. I don't want to do anything like I used to do. I have to have this conversation now about being abstinent. And I was so nervous, but I remember bringing it up, and she goes, oh, I'm glad that you said that, because if you were going to want anything else, you were going to get kicked out right now.
Within like the first week or two of our relationship, we went to church together.
First time we've ever gone to church together. This is hours after our conversation of having a biblical relationship. We go to church, and the name of the sermon was Rating Your Dating While Waiting for Mating. It was all in abstinence.
And we look at this and we're like, well, this is kind of weird, but what do you think? And so we start going to these classes.
I was like, well, I guess this is meant to be.
We got married and we opened up the practice, got pregnant right away.
Throughout the last 22 years, things that we've achieved make no sense at all.
We're just trusting the Lord. All the amazing things that God's done in our life. The Lord has just blessed us immeasurably.
You're gonna die if you don't get surgery today. My heart starts to shut down.
We didn't know what the heck we were doing.
This is serious stuff.
I had a lot of fear.
We are not going to Africa.
We were being sued.
We tended to butt heads.
You're just trying to figure out how to be a parent.
We weren't in a great place.
There is only one truth out there.
And this was the turning point for everything.
God is love, and love comes from God. In 1 John, the Bible tells us that God is not only all-loving, but that He actually is love itself. The heart of the Parent Compass television show is to bring the transforming love of God to families everywhere. In every Parent Compass episode, true stories reveal family struggles and how their lives were radically changed by the love of God. Parent Compass, an award-winning television series, is completely funded by people like you. If you have been touched by God and you want to share God's love to others, would you please pass it on? Jesus tells us to go into all the world and to tell about Him. With your donation, you allow us to take this television show into many different nations and in many different languages, free of charge. And a portion of your donation goes to Parent Compass Outreach to feed starving children. Your gift does so much. To make your tax-deductible gift, go to parentcompass.tv/donate. That's parentcompass.tv/donate. And thank you for sending love and hope around the world.